Friends, Shabbat Shalom. We welcome everyone to your congregation, to our congregation this evening. It's nice to see people here. And I haven't acknowledged since we got in here that we have people who are watching us. So I acknowledge you. Welcome. I've been tracking it, how many are watching us. It's pretty fascinating. If anyone would like the spreadsheet, I will send it to you. We're doing very deep, Burke, this is the kind of stuff you're into. Very detailed analysis of who's watching. No, we don't. We just know the numbers. We don't know who they are, where they're from. We don't know. But we get a lot on Facebook. We get a few on our website. We get a few on YouTube. You know, we're very popular in Mars. You know that. You know, I mean, and we're going towards Jupiter, but that's it. But we welcome everyone who's part of our worship, either here or in social media world. So we are going to begin our service on page 2 with Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala yalala 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 Shabbat Kabbalah Lecha Dodi likrat kala yalala 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 Shabbat Kabbalah Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad Hishmianu el hameyuchad Adonai echad U'shemo echad Shemo tiferet v'litila Lecha Dodi likrat kala yalala 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 B'nei Shabbat Kala yalala 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 B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah Likrat Shabbat Lechu v'nelcha Ki hi mekor ha'bracha Merosh mikedem nesucha Sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila Lecha Dodi likrat kala yalala 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 B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah Lecha Dodi likrat kala yalala 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 B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah Hitoriri hitoriri Ki va'urech kumi ori Uri uri shira Nigla Lecha Dodi likrat kala yalala 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 B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah Lecha Dodi likrat kala yalala 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 B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah Ui v'shalom Ateret ba'alo Gam b'simcha Uvetzola Toch emuneh Am segula V'ui chala V'ui chala Lecha Dodi likrat kala yalala 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 B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah Lecha Dodi Shabbat nekabelah.
We are going to turn to page 7. We call upon Linda Browdy to come forward, who will lead us in the lighting of the Shabbat candles.
Come, let us welcome Shabbat. May its radiance warm our hearts as we kindle these tapers.
Light is a symbol of God's presence in our lives. The Eternal One is our light and our salvation.
Light is a symbol of the holiness within each of us. The human spirit is the light of God.
Light is a symbol of the Torah's teachings, for the commandment is a lamp and the Torah is a light.
Light is a symbol of Israel's mission. As it is written, I have made you a covenant people to serve as a light to the nations.
Therefore, in the spirit of our ancient tradition that hallows unites Israel in all lands and all ages, we kindle the light of Shabbat. I know this is. You have to get a PhD in this to do this.
How do you do
We
it?
slide it up.
Oh, okay. I didn't slide it.
No, it's to protect us.
Good.
Oh, no.
Okay. For Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvot tov, v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
We praise our eternal God, creator of the universe, who hallows our lives through laws and ethical teachings. We are mindful of these timeless values as we kindle the lights of Shabbat. May God bless us with Shabbat joy. May God bless us with Shabbat holiness. May God bless us with Shabbat peace. Amen. Shabbat.
Friends, as we know, before we begin our Ma'ariv service, the evening service, one of the things we're aware of, and I wasn't fully aware of all of it, and then Jane started sharing it with me, and then I felt like a fool for not knowing enough about it, that this weekend there is this Kansas City Pride Parade and Festival. If you want information on it, probably everyone has information I don't. It's on our website, because I wanted people to be able to participate in it to the degree they want to, and looking at it's kind of incredibly impressive. And I wanted to kind of offer a prayer of some sort of reflection, prayer, to recognize Pride Month. And someone wrote this prayer or meditation. His name is Rabbi Ruvain Zellman. He's from the Reconstructionist movement. And one of the things that the Reconstructionist movement has done, or they now call it Reconstructing Judaism, has been to try to explore the issue of gender issues and the LGBTQ community. And so he wrote this, and it was very moving to me. I don't know how you're going to react to it. I just want to share it with you before we continue with the evening service. He calls it Twilight People. He says, as the sun sinks and the colors of the day turn, we are for a blessing for the twilight, for twilight is neither day nor night, but in between. We are all twilight people. We can never be fully labeled or defined. We are many identities and loves, many genders and none. We are in between roles at the intersection of histories or between place and place. We are crisscross paths of memory and destination, streaks of light and swirl together. We are neither day nor night. We are both, neither and all. May the sacred in-between of this evening suspend our certainties, soften our judgments, and widen our vision. May this in-between light illuminate our way to the God who transcends all categories and definitions. And may the in-between people who have come to pray be lifted up into this twilight. We cannot always define. We can always say a blessing. Blessed art you, God of all, who brings on the twilight. Isn't that interesting? Very beautiful meditation. It's perfect for us to continue with the Ma'ariv service. On page 36, let us rise. Seated. We continue on the top of page 37. Ever living God, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify of your power and wisdom. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but our sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, your glory will never depart from us. Help us to be your partners, that we may endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Together, all goodness and truth come from you, O God. May no transgressions estrange us from you, nor self-centeredness darken our vision of your purposes. Help us to recognize that which is just and more fully understand your will. In adversity and in prosperity, may the light of Torah illuminate our path. May we labor in your service so that our deeds become a living hymn of praise to you. We continue with Ahavat Olam in the middle of page 38.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael.
We continue on page 39 with the Shema. page 42, let us read these verses responsively. In truth, the Eternal One alone is our Redeemer. Let us praise the eternal God who gives rest to the weary and hope to the despondent. Blessed is Shabbat, the Queen of Days, which offers to our people enrichment of the soul. How blessed are those who observe Shabbat, who sanctify it with prayer, with study, and with friendship. May our homes be filled with light and gladness. May our hearts be steadfast, trusting in the Eternal One. We continue with Mi Chamocha. On page 44, as the Sabbath descends, it enfolds us in the mantle of peace. It brings to us the precious gift of time to embrace family and friends, to reflect more deeply on the meaning and purpose of our lives, and to worship in the beauty of holiness. May every Shabbat be for us a sanctuary of love and devotion, bringing contentment to our hearts, happiness to our homes, and blessings to our people. Together, those who celebrate Shabbat and call it a delight, rejoice in your creation. All who hallow the seventh day shall be gladdened by your goodness. This day is Israel's festival of the Spirit, sanctified and blessed by you, the most precious of days, a symbol of the joy of creation. We continue with Yismechu.
ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, וקורא עונג ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, המקדשי מקדשי שבי, כולם ישבעו ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת, והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו, חמדת ימים אותו קראת, זכר למעשה וראשית. ישמחו במלכותך
We continue on page 45 as we rise for the Amidah.
Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, v'Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חצתי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה.
You may be seated. Let us read on page 46 responsively. God of ages past and future, God of this day, as you were with our mothers and fathers, be with us as well. As you strengthen them, strengthen us. As you were their guide, be ours as well. Grant that we too may be bearers of your teaching, teachers of your truth. Then our tradition shall endure, and our people Israel will live, from mother and father to daughter and son, and all who follow them. One generation comes, one generation passes. Each of us is a link in the endless chain of our heritage. Students of the Torah become teachers. Our faith and our ideals endure. Our people and our values live on. On page 48, let us read these verses responsively. God, who calls people Israel to be of service, may we fulfill this charge by exemplifying the Torah's ideals with all those we encounter in our daily lives. May we have the grace to fulfill our mission with enthusiasm and with joy, always tempered by wisdom and guided by respect for other people's faiths. May our actions attest to the strength of our convictions. May our conduct towards our neighbors, our faithfulness in every sphere of duty, our compassion for those in need, and our patience under trial show that the one whose law we obey is indeed the God of all goodness, the loving creator of all people. This teaches us that to serve God is perfect freedom, and to worship God, the soul's purest delight. May our eyes and minds always be open so that we may see and welcome all truth, whether shining from the wisdom of ancient revelations or teaching us prophets of our own time. For God that seeks the guidance of the Eternal One. The people of Israel shall preserve the Sabbath, observing the Sabbath in every generation. As a perpetual covenant, it is a sign between God and the people of Israel forever. Let's continue with Hashkivenu in the middle of page 49.
Hashkivenu, השכיבנו, אדוני אלוהינו, לשלום, לשלום. השכיבנו, השכיבנו,
On page 51, we read together at the top of the page, "We gratefully acknowledge that the eternal God is our creator and preserver, the rock of our life and the shield of our help. We thank God and sing praises for the gift of life itself, for our souls that are ever in God's keeping, for the signs of our Creator's presence that we encounter every day, and for God's wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. Truly our blessings are without end, and God's loving kindness never ceases. Therefore do we forever put our trust in the Eternal One." We continue with Shalom Rav, page 52.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Taisim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Taisim Le'olam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. V'tov be'enecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
Let us continue in some moments of reflection and private prayer. Friends, let's turn back in our Siddurim, our prayer books, to our prayer for those who are ill. Prayer invites God's presence to lift our spirits. It allows the blessing and gift of hope to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, and rebuild a weakened will. Together, we pray for all people who are at this hour, are in sickness and want, or in distress of body or spirit. We name in our hearts those who are near to us, in whose pain we feel pain. Let them know your help and feel your presence. realizing that they are not alone. At this time, we are mindful of all who are ill within our community and the broken souls that are in our entire world. And we are also praying for the strength of those who take care of those who are injured or sick and are in need of support and strength. Let's continue with Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha La'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Yehud ratzon imre fi, Yehud ratzon imre fi, begion libi lefanecha, Adonai tzuri vegoali. Oh, may the words of my mouth, the meditation of my heart be acceptable before you, eternal God, my rock and my redeemer. Oh, say shalom b'mroma. Oh, yeah, I say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru, ve'imru. Amen.
Shabbat shalom to everybody. I decided to give a sermon to myself tonight. Okay, so you're just kind of along for the ride. For those of you who've been around me the last couple of weeks, you'll get it. You know, is the past better than the future? This is a central concern of the Torah portion for this Shabbat. So here's where we are. Life is tough for the Israelites. They're wandering the wilderness, recognizing that there's going to be 40 years of wandering. And life is not a picnic. And there is recorded one incident after another of their complaining. People are especially tired of the food. And in Numbers 11, it is reported that the riffraff among the Israelites took to complaining bitterly before the Lord. They justified their complaints and their gluttonous craving by recalling how much better life was in Egypt. And I'll quote for you what they said. "If only we had meat to eat. We remember the fish we ate in Egypt at no cost. Also the cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, and garlic. But now we have lost our appetite. We never see anything but manna." Evidently, they wanted kosher barbecue and they weren't getting it. The problem is their memory is a delusion. They're fantasizing about an Israelite past that is totally imaginary. In truth, they were fed in Egypt like Jewish prisoners in Auschwitz. Their affliction was a terrible case of false nostalgia. Now, we face terrible challenges today, and we don't need a list. And I don't hesitate to speak of them. And often I share my anger and frustration about our democracy, about guns, abortion, about climate change. And yet here are the facts. And I sat and went over them at my desk and researched this. I could find examples of it, that life today is much better than the past. And those of us who speak so glowingly of the past are living in la-la land. Here are some of the facts. Global life expectancy has more than doubled in the past century, even with COVID-19. Life expectancy is 76.6 years. More wealth has been created in the last 4 decades than in all of human history before. War, disease, and natural disasters now claim fewer lives than at any point in our history. Antibiotics save over 200,000 Americans' lives annually and add 5 to 10 years to U.S. life expectancy at birth. This is one that, I don't know, somehow strikes me because this was something that I was aware of growing up for some reason. Since 1988, on account of the polio vaccine, more than 18 million people can walk today who would otherwise have been paralyzed. And 1.5 million childhood deaths have been averted because of the polio vaccine. In 1800, nearly half of all children died before the age of 5, but today that figure has fallen to less than 4%. 2 centuries ago, I did a good job on this list, didn't I? Give me some credit. I do something in my new office. You think I just sit there and look out the window? No way. 2 centuries ago, 88% of the world's population was illiterate. Now only 10%. Daily life has grown considerably more enjoyable. In the 19th century, people, mostly women unfortunately, spent an average of 58 hours per week on household chores. Their 21st century counterpart have whittled it down to fewer than 18 hours. Of the same period, hours spent working outside the home, mostly by men in history, have been slashed in half down to around 40 hours per week, not to mention the great strides we've made towards gender equality. Consider that little over a century ago, most people's homes weren't even hooked up to a sewage system, and you'd never look at an ordinary toilet the same way again. I could go on. I had such a list, but you get the picture. The facts speak for themselves. Now let's turn to the Jews. I say this up front, there is an upturn in anti-Semitism. We cannot deny it. The number of anti-Semitic incidents worldwide in the United States have increased last year. US, Canada, UK, Germany, Australia are among the countries where there is the sharpest rise. It's fueled by the radical left and right-wing political movements and incitement on social media. Yet we have this tendency to see the Jews as eternal victims. to always think the apocalypse is coming, that Jews are disappearing, that Jewish life is threatened, that Israel is about to be blown off the face of the earth. Now, here is the truth. The Jewish sky is not falling. In so many ways, it has never been so good. For example, in the Biden administration, here is a sample of the Jews. Ron Klain, Chief of Staff. Janet Yellen, Secretary of Treasury. Alessandro Mayorkas, Secretary of Homeland Security. Tony Blinken, Secretary of State. Merrick Garland, Attorney General. Jared Bernstein, Council of Economic Advisors. Rochelle Walensky, Director of Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Wendy Sherman, Deputy Secretary of State. I could give you a much bigger list. Jews don't have any problem in the Biden administration. You can't get anywhere in the Biden administration without being Jewish. The president has a Passover Seder each year. 17% of American Jews say they were raised in another religion. 17%. That's a lot of converts. People want to be us. And we have to, of course, what's the best example of this? Ivanka Trump, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Every serious Jewish bookstore, every serious bookstore is filled with Jewish books. You cannot keep up with all the Jewish books that are written in English every year, let alone in other languages. Okay, you know I'm an expert on sports. Jewish owners of teams. I love this. And I'm only going through the letter C. I have a list that goes to the letter Z, but I'm going to ABC. Leslie Alexander, owner of the Houston Rockets. Mickey Arison, owner of Miami Heat. Larry Bayer, CEO of San Francisco Giants. Stephen Ballmer, owner of the Los Angeles Clippers. Arthur Blank, owner of Atlanta Falcons, Atlanta United, and Georgia Force. I have no idea what those two things are. Norman Bramman, former owner of the Philadelphia Eagles. Alan Cohn, owner of Florida Panthers hockey team. Alan N. Cohn, former owner of the New York Knicks and New York Rangers, co-owner of the Boston Celtics, New Jersey Nets, and chairman and CEO of Madison Square Garden Corporation. I'll just finish the C's. Stephen Cohn, owner of the New York Mets, and Mark Cuban, owner of Dallas Mavericks. That's only the first three letters of the alphabet. Americans tend, and this is where we don't want to believe this, but I've studied the statistics, and this is true. This is not something you pull out of nowhere. Americans tend to have warm feelings towards Jews. Asked to rate religious group on a thermometer scale of 1 to 100, Jews got an average of 63, the highest of any group. Of any group, we're the ones who are liked most. Jews are not excluded from any industry or profession except for the ministry. There is a Jewish state, and a Jewish army, and a Jewish university. And Israel was ranked 19th out of 189 countries on the 219 Human Rights Development Index, on the UN Human Development Index, indicating very high development. It is considered a high-income country by the World Bank. Here's one we forget. Israel has peace with most of its neighbors. Israel and Jordan signed peace treaties 1979 and 1994 respectively. In 2020, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, Sudan, Morocco signed peace agreements with Israel. I'm going to do a couple more because I did this work and I don't want to waste it. There are 33 serious Holocaust museums in the United States. A major one, our nation's capital. There's Holocaust museums in Munich and Berlin. 3,722 synagogues in the United States. That's a lot of rabbis. That's how I think. 350 Jewish community centers. I won't mention the list of Jewish Nobel Prize winners. 25% of the richest Americans on the Forbes list are Jewish, and Jews are 2% of the American population. This is the terrible data. This is it. We're not in decline. We're getting better. The world's getting better. I mean, I know 2 weeks ago I was basically wanted to give up. But I decided, Alan, stop giving up and look at the facts. The world's getting better in spite of everything that we are getting wrong and that we have a right to complain about. False nostalgia distorts our thinking and drags us down. It makes us depressed. It lets us off the hook to make changes and to make things better. Let's get personal. We should be quite cautious to assume that our own past are better than our future. Oh, things were so great when I was in high school. No, they weren't. We often get stuck in the past when we think that things were better or simpler when we were younger. That's not quite the case. There's a wonderful quote that I found from the late Brooke Atchinson's, a former theater critic of the New York Times, who summarizes beautifully. He said, "In every age, the good old days were a myth. No one ever thought they were good at the time. For every age has consisted of crises that seemed intolerable to the people who lived through them." At times, as you know, I can be disillusioned or deluded, whatever. We all can. And personally, I need to keep that in check. Let's never stop to dream of a better tomorrow. As complicated as that goal, the Israelites who came out of Egypt were fools. They were fools. And as complicated as the future might be, let us believe that for ourselves, for our nation, for our people, for the world, there are good things ahead if we can work towards them. And that's really the Jewish message, isn't it? We always talk about the Messianic age. That's what Reformed Jews love to talk about. What is that? It's a belief that the future can be perfected. Even when frustrated, let's keep on marching forward, and please, please, no complaining about our owning Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. Okay. Page 368, let us rise for the adoration.
Let us adore the ever-living God. We offer praise unto you, who spread out the heavens and established the earth. Your glory is revealed in the heavens above, and your greatness is manifest throughout the world. You are our God, there is none else. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומורדים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
You may be seated. We read together on page 369. May the time not be distant, O God, when you shall be worshipped throughout the earth, when unbelief shall disappear and error be no more. Fervently we pray that the day may come when all people shall be guided by your teachings. Corruption and evil shall give way to purity and goodness. Superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. Then all who dwell on earth shall know that to you alone every knee shall bend and every voice give praise. May all created in your image recognize that we are brothers and sisters, so that one in spirit and one in harmony, we be forever united before you. Then shall your reign be established on earth, and the word of your ancient prophet be fulfilled. The eternal God will reign forever and ever. On that day, the eternal shall be one, and God's name shall be one.
ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Friends, at this time we recall the yurt sites that are part of the permanent memory of our community. Jeanette Barnett, Max Barnett Jr., Stephen Brick, Greg Gunther, Dorothy Halperin, Bertha Kamen, Marjorie Levy, Naomi McCord, Berthold Joseph Newberger, Rose Ripley, Ruth Renee, Ruth Schwartz, Stanley Schlossberg, William Snower Jr., Albert Strauss, Leonard Wasserman, and Michael Wasserman. We also remember during the 30 days after the death of a loved one, Richard MacArthur. In solemn testimony to that unbroken faith that links the generations of the house of Israel one to another, let us all rise and join together in reciting the Mourner's Kaddish, page 375. Yit Gadal, V'yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, B'yamah Divrach Chirutei, B'yamlich Machutei, B'chayechon Uvyamechon Uvchayedachol Beit Yisrael, Bagalav Izman Kari V'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mivarach Le'olam Omei Omaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shmei Dekudesha Barichu Leila Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechamata Damiran B'yoma V'yimru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the one who causes peace to reign in the high heavens let peace descend on us and all Israel and on all the world, and let us say amen. Please be seated. The Shabbat flowers are dedicated in memory of Jeanette Barnett and Max Barnett Jr. by the Barnett families, in memory of Greg Gunther by Kelly and Daniel Morell, in memory of Naomi McCord by Sue McCord Belzer and Irv Belzer, in memory of Ruth Ronay by Jill and Leland Shurin, in memory of Leonard Wasserman by Sarah Kanhonik, and in memory of Michael Wasserman by Maggie and Burke Wasserman. And we are very grateful that Glenn Young is sponsoring our Oneg Shabbat this evening, and he's out worrying about the Oneg Shabbat. Is that where? Okay. Let me give you some of our announcements. As many of you are aware, and I want to just make sure everyone knows, that next week we are going to be having Shabbat in the park. We were graciously invited by Congregation B'nai Yehuda, and we will be with them in Luce Park at the Pavilion. You're able to park across the street at, what's the school? Pem, I can never, I want to say Brookside something, Pembroke Academy. We can park there and walk across. So we encourage people to obviously come, bring chairs, that would be great. If you want to bring dinner, that'd be wonderful. And there'll be a food truck there but it won't be very nutritious. It'll be good, which is going to be served. This is all because of B'nai Yehuda, so we thank them. Kettle corn, cotton candy, Dippin' Dots. What are Dippin' Dots? Oh, that's, okay, I got it. There's not one thing I would eat on this. Fresh lemonade and shaken tea. What is shaken tea? Yeah, I know it. I don't know, is it? What is unshaken tea? Okay. I think it's there because Nathan loves shaken tea. Is that one of the things you love?
I love many things.
Okay. Okay, so come. And we're not going to be Zooming it next week. Just come, okay? That's a motivation. Just come. Becky and Nathan are going to be there doing their musical thing. I'm not sure their musical talents are going to be fully utilized, but they're good sports, okay?
Woven into the tapestry.
Yes, you're just going to be team players, and whatever B'nai Yehuda wants you to do, you're going to do, and you're going to be happy. Okay? No, we're very careful about what we do up here. When we leave the bubble, we don't have the control anymore. That's it. We continue with the JFS Health Snack and Toilet Tissue Drive, where we are gathering toilet tissue, granola, and fruit bars for our community, for the community pantry, and we will be doing that through September. That's what I want to announce tonight. Any other thoughts? Glenn, how's the Onik Shabbat going? It's ready to go. Okay, good. So we are going to conclude our service. It's, again, nice being here. It's just, don't you think it's a good feeling in the sanctuary?
Excellent.
It's better.
Yeah.
It's better than before. Now, why is it better? First of all, the beam is lower. It's just better. I'm not an architect, I don't know anything, but it's better. Page 423, Ein Kelohenu.
Ein Kelohenu, ein Karonenu, ein Kimalkeinu, ein Kimoshienu. Mi Eloheinu, mi Karonenu, mi Kimalkeinu, mi Kimoshienu. Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Elokeinu, Nodel Moshienu. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
Shabbat Shalom. We join together outside for the Onik Shabbat, and let's enjoy it.
Good for you.
We still have our daughters in Lawrence, and we still have our apartment here. So we
Oh.
come back and forth.
And the business is all done here?
Joe's retired.
You're done.
Wow.
Good for you.
Well, at least you've got your daughter bringing you back here. Right.
So if you guys are out in California,
San Diego. I was gonna say San Diego,
Oh
I
my
think.
goodness. Padres fan?
Pardon?
No?
He's become a bit of a baseball fanatic.
Oh, have you? Okay, yeah.
I like the Padres.
We're not in this, you know what, when we were out here, we got into the Chiefs and the Royals, but then we moved out there, it's just like, not California, it's just, you know, they're not into that kind of
They're not
stuff.
into sports.
I don't know, the Dodgers, the
Well,
Oh,
Angels.
no, people are into it. We're not
Well,
into
we're
it.
not.
Maybe that's not right.
Good clarification.
Yeah, we're not into it. There's no connection. We had a connection because in our apartment, a chief lived upstairs.
Whoa,
So
Oh, wow.
then I
Okay, so there
got
you
to
go.
watching him on TV. and
Which
then,
one?
Chris Conley, he doesn't play with them anymore.
Oh,
But it was an entree,
It was fun for
Oh,
a while.
yeah.
and then-
right? It
Yeah.
was,
Sure,
it
that,
got
you know, personal
personal.
connection.
it's a
brings
personal
you in.
connection,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
right.
Well, I feel like I know Mookie Betts and some of the Dodgers, but I actually have never met them. But I feel like we really hit it off.
Well, we didn't really hit it off with him, because we were always.
Complaining about his
Too
noise.
quiet.
Was he thumping music
Playing
and
music.
stuff?
He was bad.
Late at night and stuff?
Yikes. Oh, boy.
Because it was above in the base.
Yeah, the base is the
Oh.
worst.
But then I started reading about it, and the Star has really good sports writers, so I was enjoying reading about sports. And I guess I should read the San Diego sports articles, maybe they have good articles,
Well,
I
if
don't
you're
know.
interested.
Padres are a great team.
I catch the headlines, because we get, anyhow.
So are you just
So
back
good to
here
see you.
seeing your daughter? Is that what you're back here?
Yeah,
visiting?
we had a bunch of doctor's appointments.
Yeah.
So we tried to clump everything in so we could,
Oh, for sure.
yeah.
Justify coming out here, because it's so expensive
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Airplane
Yeah.
tickets are out of,
It's no joke, it's really expensive.
anyhow.
Yeah, and the quality of the experience is. Unless you're flying first class.
Not what it
is.
You
Even if
guys
you
are
are-
rocking first class.
It-
Back there, coach. Ooh.
The whole
My parents
thing
live
is-
in New York today, and they're in the back row, no reclining seats right next to the bathroom.
Oh,
So
that's
they said,
horrible.
Oh,
I've
gosh.
been in that seat.
It's not good, it's not
I
good.
was the middle seat, Joe had the window, and
Oh.
the guy fell asleep on my shoulder.
Oh, insult to injury.
You're most likely to survive a plane crash in that.
That's true, I guess.
Very true. That's the one.
So
That's
you
the survivor.
super excited?
Oh, just so excited, yeah. We had to do the whole IVF thing, so it took a long time, and
Yeah.
just so happy it's here, and she's almost here, and
That's amazing. Are your parents out of this
Oh,
world?
just don't even, yeah.
We're talking to the whole world right now.
Oh, yeah.